Well, hello and welcome back. Today, we're going to spend a few minutes on a concept that is really at the core of spiritual practice in all traditions. It really is. And that's learning to trust. Yes, you could characterize this in several different ways. Learning to trust is one of them. Learning to surrender is another way that you could look at this. Learning to relax and trust, that's one. Learning to relax and surrender. So, whatever language you resonate with, this is what we're talking about. It's essential to the spiritual path because a development of trust is part of the journey. It is, and it doesn't make any difference what your background is. Again, A Course in Miracles is universal in theme and application. You do not have to adopt this and only this as your main spiritual practice. You can if you want to. It is a self-study curriculum, meaning you take what you wish to take at a given time. You take what you're willing to take at a given time. You could see it that way. So, why is this so hard for us on the spiritual path, whatever the external form looks like, whatever your practice looks like, whatever your practice says look like, if you're involved in more than one tradition or somewhat of a hybrid or sampling what resonates with you from different traditions, that's entirely possible. And so many people do that, especially today in the 21st century when this beautiful technology has everything in the world at our disposal. All we have to do is be willing to search for it, and we can find it. And it's that willingness that we really come back to. Learning to relax and trust sounds simple, like everything in this course. It's really simple, but it's not necessarily easy to do in practice. Is it? In fact, it can be very, very hard because our conditioning is so thick. We have been conditioned and attenuated to think that we're a human body, that this is our reality, and we get 80 years, maybe, if we're lucky. I mean, maybe. Anything can happen between now and then, right? And maybe you live beyond that and you're in a very nice and healthy state of mind and you've got it all together, or maybe not. We don't know. We don't know. And it can seem a little bit odd, especially at first, to be asked to trust, to develop trust in our inner teacher, to develop trust in Jesus, to develop trust in the Holy Spirit. It can seem really hard and threatening. It's the ego, of course, that's threatened, that wants to rush into your mind and spew its meaninglessness all over the place. It correctly fears that you'll leave it aside, which you will eventually. Doesn't have to be today, and whatever. It's not just Reverend Tomas Garza that's saying this, by the way. I didn't write this material. There's no way that I could have written this material, by the way. I mean, really, it's very lengthy and it's entirely consistent throughout the text, the workbook, the manual for teachers, the two supplements, everything. consistent throughout. That's why this is so beautiful. It's one of the reasons why, actually. And what we really are is, in fact, beautiful through its own creation. Our reality as spirit is a beauty and dignity, as Jesus puts it, that's beyond doubt. It's certain. Our beauty and dignity, our wholeness, our oneness, joy, magnificence, boundlessness, limitlessness, it's beyond a doubt. It's certain. So, what we all eventually do on the path, and maybe you're already there, and maybe you're not. Again, these videos are for everyone. And if you feel that you already know this, it's for you too, because as experienced students in a tradition, it really helps us to hear the basics many, many times, doesn't it? Yes, it does. So, here at the tail end of chapter 4, section 1 of the text, Right Teaching and Right Learning, Jesus likens himself to an elder brother. So, let's say that he's the elder brother, and we've got the image here right at the tail end in paragraph 13, the last paragraph of this section. We've got a father that's going away for, maybe he's going to work, maybe he's going to the store, right? I don't know, maybe he's going for a run, but he's leaving two kids at the house. One is an older brother, the other, the younger child, is you. And he entrusts the older brother with your care and well-being, with care of your body to make sure that no harm comes to you, and also your ego, your sense of identity. So it's like God leaving Jesus in charge of us. What does the younger sibling do in this case? Well, there's a certain amount of trust that goes into it that, yes, my older brother's taking care of me. I don't have to worry about anything. He's got my back. I'm safe. I'm covered. I don't know, whatever language you want to use. That's the analogy that we're looking at here. And Jesus says, yes, we can entrust him with our body and our ego so that we need not be concerned about it. And he will teach us its unimportance. In fact, its complete lack of reality. We're willing to go that far. So he paints himself here as our older brother, which he is. He's awakened, and he's here to help show us how to do the same, as an older brother would care for a younger sibling. What's our job as the younger sibling? It's to learn to relax and trust, not to resist our older brother as soon as dad steps out of the house. It's not like we're going to get out all of the kitchen knives and start throwing them around. Yet maybe you want to. Maybe you want to start playing with matches, or worse. Maybe it's difficult for you to relax and trust that your older brother has your back. But he does. He most assuredly and certainly does. Having awakened himself, he's led the way and is now helping us to do the same thing. He's showing us how to set the ego aside completely because he did the same thing. He was once tempted to cling to a false sense of self, just as we are. And that's what makes him a valuable and qualified teacher, is that he was running around on this planet as a human being too, and learned his true forgiveness lessons, and, as we put it in language, accomplished the path. He's here to show us, and what he needs are people that are dedicated, that are committed, as he puts it, devoted teachers. Devoted teachers who share his aim of healing the mind. Devoted teachers who share the aim of healing the mind, where all healing takes place, where it's needed, at the level of the mind. Again, the physical body may or may not follow this healing of the mind. And of course, it frequently does, but it's not the point. So let's return here to relaxing and trusting. This is an invitation to learn to relax and trust. And if you need help, if you're finding this difficult, ask your inner teacher for help. That is what your inner teacher is for this support. It's for this guidance. Yes, there are human teachers. I'm only one of them. There are many human teachers. If you feel safe and comfortable with somebody that is in human form, then ask them. And we're all invited to get in touch with our inner teacher, the teacher with a capital T. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you call this inner teacher Jesus. You may call this inner teacher the Holy Spirit, or your guide or guides, or perhaps there's a different name if you're practicing a different spiritual tradition. So whatever it is, that's what we're driving at here. That's the point, is learning to relax and trust the wisdom, the experience, and the complete and total benevolence. The I've got your backness, totally I've got your backness of our inner teacher. I just invented that word. It's fun to invent words, isn't it? So we learn to relax, let our ego go, and trust. Learn to relax and trust. Learn to relax and surrender, if you prefer. Again, these are just words. Words are symbols. That's all they are when you really think about it. They're simply a collection of sounds that we've gotten together and assigned all of the meaning that they have for us. They're not the thing that they represent, and the thing that they represent is illusion also. Now, as Jesus puts it here in A Course in Miracles, words are actually twice removed from reality. So my point in bringing this up is that it doesn't matter if you use the word surrender or trust or relax or lean into. It doesn't make any difference what the word actually is. That is external. It's the external form, the content of setting your ego aside and trusting. That is what's universal. I say this because many times people write or comment that a certain word triggers them. It may bring up some extraordinarily unpleasant memories, and perhaps they're very recent memories or emotions that are very strong and they produce immediate and stern resistance. And so be it, right? So be it. We experience this from time to time. So, whichever word you prefer, what we're all about here is understanding the meaning and taking it to heart. So, when I say here, we're learning to relax and trust, supply different verbiage if you want to. If relax and trust trigger you, then use a different word. That's all. That's all really that needs to be said here. Because ultimately, this walk is between you and your inner teacher. So, in that sense, it's highly personal, isn't it? You just have lots of help along the way. So I'm here to be of help and assistance to you. If you have not subscribed to the channel, here is the subscription button. That's the red arrow that you see over here. I'd love to have you join me, and comments and questions are always, always welcome here. This is meant to be a forum for you to, well, practice. And if questions come up, as they inevitably do, please feel welcome to share those here. All right. So thank you, as always, for tuning in and for your practice. I will see you again very soon.